let me talk to you about my brilliant guest today on my podcast. So, I want to introduce a golfing legend. His name is Shiv Kapur. And when I decided to do a communication podcast as Think Tank's first podcast, the whole team at Think said, hey, I think you should invite Shiv to be a guest on your podcast because you talk too much and I'm sure everybody won't want to just hear you. Now, the reason they say this is because Shiv Kapur is a great communicator, and you'll see this for yourself in the questions I will ask him. He is, very well known in India because he was one of the first golfers. He was in college playing golf in Purdue, then he became a professional golfer. His wins include the Volvo Masters of Asia. He's a gold medalist in the Asian Games. He plays on the Asian Tour. He is known immensely for being calm under pressure and humor like crazy. He finds the funny side of everything, and he basically bullies everybody, like in a good way. So he won't ever take take your seriousness at heart, and he's always very strategic in his mindset, but he's very focused and grounded. So I want to introduce you to Shiv and ask him some trick questions so that you get a little bit of a different perspective. Now, the reason I've also chosen a golfer is not only for the reason that he's great, but number one, it's a game I'm obsessed with and I play a lot, and I've told you about this. And the team also wants me to do a different podcast on how golf affects business and real life, and I'll do that in a more detailed way. But the second thing is, I think everything from golf and the way people play demonstrates their actual personality and their communication style. So if I play with a client and the way the client relates to me, plays his game, acts during a 4-hour round of golf, gives me a very good and clear idea of his communication style. Is he aggressive? Is he egotistical? Is he kind? Is he compassionate? Is he fair? Honestly, I'll be able to tell you all of that after 9 holes of golf, not even 4 hours. After 2 hours of a golf game with you, I'll be able to tell you that. So let's hear it from Shiv's perspective and let's see what you think.
Thank you so much for coming. This is our first Think Tank podcast, and I thought you would be an amazing guest on it because we're talking about communication, and I know how great of a communicator you are. So I wanted you to just tell me a little bit about your journey as a golfer, going to school in America, being thrown from the deep end, from India to the US. I talked about it myself because I was 16 and I went on a Rotary exchange program, and I took a carousel of photos of the fact that I didn't ride on elephants and I didn't have monkeys in my back garden, and we did have horses and cow. We did have cows on the street a bit, but you know what I mean. So tell me a little bit about your journey and then we can build on that.
Firstly, thanks for having me. It's great to be here. I think the things you touched upon, if I look back, even if I go before college, right, I think travel is probably one of the best ways to learn how to communicate, because not just for the simple reason that there's different languages, different cultures. For example, when I went to Japan when I was 12 years old, you were told, you make sure you bow to your elders. There's certain things that considered good in certain cultures and not in others. Then you go to America and it's the opposite end of the spectrum, or you go to Australia where everyone's mate, right? You can talk to the Prime Minister of the country and it's mate. And we grew up in India and it's uncle and auntie, and everyone says, why do you say uncle, auntie, So a lot of the communication is also quite cultural, I feel. And the more you travel and the more you experience, you learn all these little nuances of how to speak to people from different countries. And I think Dubai is a great example of that, right? We're a melting pot of so many different cultures, and I think it teaches you a lot. I think kids that grow up and are educated in this multicultural environment learn a lot. And my experience personally of studying in America in college, you're absolutely right, You used to say, oh, do you guys still ride on camels? And do you sit on horses? And there's 2 ways you can react to that, right? You can feel offended or you can make light of the situation. There's a very famous golfer actually on the European Tour. And he used to, every time I used to come onto the driving range, he used to say, where did you park your elephant, right? And today we're in a very sensitive world where people, treat it as racial undertones or whatever, but it was literally him, I look at it as the Indian Maharajas used to sit on elephants, so I sit, on the top of an elephant. So I think perspective is also things, and, how you deal with the situation, if you get defensive about it, or, you explain yourself. And I think when you talk about being a good communicator, I think the first thing to being a good communicator is having the other person on your side, right? Make friends with the person. Whether it's in a business setting, if the person's your friend, he's more likely to do business with you. If the person likes you, they're more likely to be more receptive to what you're saying. So I think likability is a big part of communication. If my first impression of somebody is not good, I'm not really listening to what they're saying. It's going in from one ear and out of the other ear. So I think that's the first part.
Isn't that quite a tough one? Because suppose I'm put in a situation like your golf team. Let's talk about you being at Purdue and being in a golf team. Were you the only Indian golfer on the team? What happens if you end up in a situation where you don't like someone on the golf team? They're either sort of like slightly bullying you, or they're never giving you that sort of freedom. How do you change the fact that you actually don't like them? You have to communicate with them because they're on your team, and you need to change your mindset. How did you face that, or did you have to deal with that?
I think in any competitive environment, there's always bound to be competitive jealousies, envy, and they're not going to love you, right? You're competing for the same spot on a team. You learn to be friends and you learn to find effective ways, but if you're more likable, it's much easier. Let's just put it that way. You don't try and be the smartest guy in the room every time. I think a lot of people, the mistake they make is you want to impress upon others that, I'm the smartest guy in the room or I'm better than you. I think humility plays a big part in communication as well.